Hi, and welcome to this presentation called How to Unpack Standards, a practical guide for educators. My goal today is to walk you through a simple, effective process for breaking down academic standards so you can plan lessons, assessments, and learning experiences with clarity and purpose. You'll see examples, get to try it yourself, and leave with some tools you can use right away. So, why unpack standards? Unpacking standards is a foundational step in good teaching. First, it helps clarify your lesson planning. You know exactly what you're aiming for instead of guessing or trying to cover everything. It also ensures your instruction and assessments are aligned. That means students are being taught and assessed on the same expectations. It helps you focus on what's essential in the standard rather than getting lost in all the extras. And finally, it supports differentiation. When you understand the standard deeply, it's easier to scaffold for students who need support or enrichment. Let's first define what we mean by unpacking. Unpacking is the process of breaking a standard into smaller, teachable parts. That means identifying the key skills and concepts, thinking about what students need to do, and rewriting those expectations into clear, student-friendly learning targets. It's about making the standard usable for instruction and assessment. Now that we understand why unpacking standards matters, let's walk through the actual process, starting with step 1, reading the standard closely. Easy, right? We want to look for the verb. This tells us what kind of thinking or action is expected from the students. Then we want to identify the content, what students need to know or understand. We want to pay attention to any phrases that expand the standard or suggest multiple steps. Ask yourself, what does success look like for a student mastering this standard? Here's a real example from a third grade classroom. The standard says, describe how weathering, erosion, and deposition change Earth's surface over time. The verb here is describe. So we know students need to explain or give details. The content includes 3 Earth processes and how they affect landforms. Just by identifying those parts, you already have a better sense of what your lesson and assessment should focus on. Once you've highlighted the verbs and content, now separate them into skills and concepts. The skills are the actions, things like describe, compare, analyze. The concepts are the ideas or content areas, like erosion, force, or main idea. Some standards include multiple skills and concepts, so list each one clearly. This makes it easier to write learning targets and plan your lessons. Next, let's look at the vocabulary. Standards often include academic language or subject-specific terms that need to be taught explicitly. Make a list of words students must understand to fully grasp your standard. These might be things like weathering, erosion, and they'll often need visuals, definitions, and repetitions to really stick. Now, ask yourself, what level of thinking does this standard require? Webb's depth of knowledge, or DOK, ranges from level 1, which is basic recall, to level 4, which is extended complex thinking. This matters because your activities and assessments should match the standard's complexity. If a standard asks students to explain or analyze, then a simple multiple choice quiz will not be enough. Here's where everything comes together. Based on the skill and content you identified, now we write clear, student-friendly learning targets, usually beginning with I can. For example, From the earlier science standard, one target might be, I can describe how erosion affects landforms. These targets guide our instruction and give students a sense of direction. Once your learning targets are clear, it's time to plan how you will assess them. Make sure your assessments match the skill level. If your target is about explaining a process, consider an open-ended response or a verbal explanation, not just multiple choice. Use exit tickets, performance tasks, or student-created visuals. Anything that allows students to demonstrate what they've learned in a way that fits the target. Now it's your turn. Take a look at this standard. Solve multi-step word problems using addition and subtraction of whole numbers. I want you to pause here and try to unpack it. So we're going to identify the verb or skill, the key concepts, the DOK level, and we're going to write at least one learning target. You can jot it down on a paper or type it out, whatever works best for you. So I'm going to ask that you pause the video here and try it out. Okay, welcome back. So let's compare answers. In this standard, the skill is to solve. The concepts included multi-step word problems and addition and subtraction of whole numbers. The DOK is probably level 2 or 3 since students need to do more than just recall facts. They have to apply and reason through a process. A sample learning target could be, I can solve multi-step word problems using addition and subtraction. How did your version compare? Go ahead and pause the video and turn and talk with some people at your table about how yours compared. Moving on, here are a few tools and tips to make all of this process easier. Remember to always start with your state's Department of Education site. Many have clarification documents or sample unpackings already done for you. Another idea is to work with your PLC on grade level teams. It's so much easier when you talk it through with others, which I'm hoping you've already found today. You can also use templates or color-coded tools to keep your unpackings organized. And resources like Marzano's framework or DOK wheels can also really help. Some standards are broad or include way too many objectives, and this is normal. Don't be afraid to break them into smaller parts. Other times, unfamiliar vocabulary or abstract concepts can make things tricky. And of course, time is always a factor for us. But once you get the hang of it, unpacking becomes much quicker, and it really does make everything else easier. To wrap up, unpacking standard gives us a roadmap. It helps us plan with purpose, assess with alignment, and teach with confidence. When we know exactly what's in the standard, we can be intentional about how we teach and how we support all learners. It might feel like extra work at first, but it pays off in the clarity. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this gave you a helpful framework and a few ideas to bring back to your planning. If you have any questions or want to share how you've used this, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear how it works in your context.